Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are digging into a really powerful piece on a topic that's central to so many of us. How do we actually hear and understand the voice of the Spirit?
So let's just start with a question that, if we're being honest with ourselves, pretty much everyone of faith has asked at some point. It can feel like you're trying to tune an old radio to some faraway station, right? Just a lot of static.
Well, the devotional we're looking at today has a really interesting take. It suggests that the problem isn't that the signal isn't being broadcast, but that maybe our own receiver isn't quite tuned in. That without being spiritually alert, we can just walk right past those divine promptings.
So what are we even talking about when we say spiritual alertness? This isn't about being, jumpy or anxious. Think of it more like a state of spiritual sensitivity, an openness that lets a person not only recognize, but, and this is the key part, respond to the Holy Spirit's guidance.
To really get our heads around this, let's look at a fantastic case study of this principle in action. We're going to jump into the book of Acts, chapter 10, for a huge moment in the life of the Apostle Peter.
So the scene is set perfectly. Peter gets away from all the distractions. He goes upstairs specifically to pray. And that simple act of setting aside time and space, well, it puts him in this receptive state. It's the perfect setup for what happens next. He falls into a trance and gets a vision.
Now, in this vision, he sees this giant sheet coming down out of heaven, and it's filled with all kinds of animals that, under his Jewish law, were considered unclean. And then he hears this totally startling command: Peter, kill and eat. I mean, for him, this would have been just unthinkable, a total non-starter.
And get this wasn't just some fleeting thought or a quick, weird image. The entire vision, command and all, was repeated 3 separate times. That kind of repetition is like a giant flashing sign from heaven saying, pay attention, this is important.
Okay, so Peter's got this super confusing vision. Now let's watch how it leads him from that state of total confusion to a moment of absolute, undeniable clarity. This is where his spiritual alertness really pays off.
I mean, you can just picture him up there, right? Totally scratching his head. He's doubting, he's questioning, he's trying to figure out what on earth this bizarre, repetitive vision could possibly mean. It went against literally everything he'd ever been taught.
But here's where it gets amazing. The timing is just perfect. While Peter's on the roof wrestling with the meaning of this vision, completely separate events are lining up perfectly. 3 men, sent by a Roman Centurion named Cornelius, show up at his gate at that exact moment. And this is the breakthrough. As he's thinking, the Spirit just cuts right through all that confusion with a clear, direct, unmistakable instruction. And notice the wording: go with them, doubting nothing. The vision was the setup, this was the instruction.
So the big question is, how did Peter get to a point where he could hear that clearly, even when he was confused? And probably more importantly for us, how can we cultivate that same kind of spiritual sensitivity in our own lives?
Well, the source material we're pulling from boils it down to 3 foundational practices. It starts with prayer, just like Peter was doing. Then there's meditation on the Word, which kind of tunes our spirit to God's frequency. And finally, it's about a daily walk, a constant relationship and fellowship with the Holy Spirit.
All right, so why is this such a big deal? Let's look at the actual outcome of Peter being alert and obedient in that moment, because the ripple effect was absolutely massive.
You can draw a straight line here. Because Peter was spiritually alert, he heard the Spirit's voice. And because he obeyed that voice, even though it was weird and uncomfortable, his actions led directly to the salvation of an entire household. The stakes were huge.
And that's such a powerful question to think about. What if he just brushed it off as a weird dream from something he ate? What if he let his doubt and his traditions paralyze him? An entire family's destiny, a huge turning point for the early church, all hinged on his ability to listen and act.
So let's bring this all home. We've seen the example. We've talked about the how-to. We've seen the incredible impact. Now, how do we really internalize this and make it our own?
The devotional we're working from wraps up with this really powerful tool, a personal confession. It's about shifting our whole mindset from, gosh, I hope I can hear God, to a statement of faith. I am spiritually alert. It's a declaration that we are designed to recognize that voice and to follow it without all the second guessing. And really, that's what we want to leave you with. This isn't just an old story, it's a practical model for us. So looking at those 3 keys, prayer, the Word, and fellowship, what's one small step, one little thing you can do today to start tuning your own spirit and cultivating a greater alertness to divine guidance?